quite a few people already, and of course they can join anytime, so let's not just wait too long. So welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is our program of the Industry and Entrepreneurship Section of the Hungarian Economic Association. My name is Miklós Kozma. I'm the chair of this section, and this is one of our industry-related programs of the year. This one today in English. Most of our programs are in Hungarian, but due to the interest of non-Hungarian speaking stakeholders, we decided to do this in English today. So if you are not a member of the Economic Association yet, then I encourage you to join us. If you are a member, please remember to pay the small annual fee, which is due these days. Just a very technical question. I think we are all used to this virtual environment now. We've been doing it like for more than a year. So I ask everybody, including myself and the key discussants, to turn off the microphone when you are not actually talking. This is what I will also do. But that said, let me ask the moderator of today's event, Edina Kálmán, who is a member of our section, to introduce the topic and the roundtable discussions. So Edina, please.
Thank you, Miklós. So welcome everybody to this roundtable discussion with a very exciting theme, namely business model shift. We see that the recent period has affected quite sensitively and very differently all enterprises. Some of those have been sold and some of them withered, depending on the industry or service type concerned. But why this topic is both actual and significant, according to a fresh new research document composed by Association of HR Professionals in Hungarian HSOS, almost half of the companies surveyed had to review their strategy basically or moderately. Besides that, increasing organizational efficiency has been a topic for almost 55% of the Hungarian companies. These numbers shows me that the strategy and business model shift or emerging new business models are hot topics here in Hungary as well. Therefore, we should deal with it more deeply. In parallel, e-commerce has exploded with the fundamental change of customer habits. 1/3 of Hungarian customers affirmed that they would never buy in the same way in the future as they did before 2020. A significant proportion of purchases have been diverted to the online space, thereby giving a space for enterprises in e-commerce. All of our invited guests have a close connection to the subject. And dear guests, first of all, many thanks for undertaking this conversation, because all of you are very busy as you are a kind of star in your own territory. Mr. Zoltán Nagy-György, Chief Executive Officer of Ilcsi, Beautifying Herbs Hungary, Zoli from a company mentioned as the star of natural cosmetics, also in international circles, Mr. András Perényi, CEO and owner of Webshippy, known as the star of e-commerce, and Mr. Ákos Tajta, General Manager of Wolt Hungary, the new icon of courier service. Our discussant is Mr. Miklós Kozma, Associate Professor of Corvinus University of Budapest and Chairman of the Industry and Entrepreneurship Section of the Hungarian Economic Association, and as I know, the leader of MBA program at the university. Just a couple of words about myself. I'm an organizational developer and business consultant. I led the organizational development group for 7 years at IFCA Public Benefit Nonprofit Ltd, a background institution of Ministry for Innovation and Technology, and I dealt with small and medium enterprises, business or organizational model shift. So I'm particularly interested and affected in this topic. Yes, frames, questions can be asked during the whole conversation. Please write your questions into the chat box on the right. According to my estimation, we will have time for 2 or 3 questions per topic. So thank you for taking this into account. And you can raise your hands on the right side above Handicom, with Handicom. Okay, so let's start. Zoli, Ákos, and András, in this order. Could you introduce yourself and your company, your market, just shortly, please? Zoli.
Okay, thank you. Then I will start. So basically speaking, the company which I represent is Ilcsi Beautifying Herbs Hungary, which is the leading natural cosmetics manufacturer in Hungary. In particular, we are having many different sales channels at the very moment, which is also a consequence of the pandemic as well. The company before 2019 has been a professional only brand distributed among cosmeticians across the country. Something like 3,000 estheticians were purchasing our products, and that Hungarian part was the majority of our sales. Out of that, something like above that, something like 20 different countries we were also exporting, and distributed through distributors from Australia to the US as well. But the Hungarian sales represented something like 50% of the entire company revenue. As for the products and as for the company credo, we would like to bring the natural beauty to everyone. Our products are being made from mostly from our own grown or collected herbs. Even the company has its own 20-acre own plantation, and we are growing there something like 40-50 different species of plants. We were doing it quite for a long time. The company dates back to the 1980s. That's where the esthetician practice has been started. And that's what we do, and that's what we do it quite differently. I think from 2019 onwards, we were open to e-commerce channels as well, which was quite a different way of doing it than we were doing it in the past. I will also explain it later on. Just a word about myself. I'm leading the company in the last 2 years, and also leading this strategic change as well, which was quite a significant, or the most significant one in the history of our company to maintain and to reinforce growth of our company. Previously, I've been working as a strategy, mergers and acquisition, and also supply chain management expert, mostly in the oil and gas industry. So that's my story, and
Okay.
And that's the company story as well.
Thanks, Zoli. András from Webshippy, just a couple of words about you and about Webshippy. I think you are muted.
Sorry, I always forgot this. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Hi, guys. Hi, everyone. Our company, Webshippy, is an order fulfillment company. We does very similar services like Amazon in the States. So basically, it's an outsourced logistics service for e-commerce stores. We started this company like 5 years ago. We used to run our own e-commerce businesses. Well, basically, we sold cosmetics, not as special cosmetics as Ilcsi, but imported ones from China. Actually, after a couple of months, we faced a lot of orders, like more than 5,000-6,000 orders monthly. And that was a time when we where we realized that the logistics of an e-commerce company is a nightmare. And we read international blogs, and basically we checked what the US star e-commerce entrepreneurs do. And we realized that everyone is trying to outsource this logistic nightmare to someone else. And basically, beside of Amazon, there are plenty of order fulfillment companies are existing in the States. So we started to look for another very similar service in Hungary, but we couldn't find any. And that was a time when we started to develop our own software. Basically, we wanted to solve the typical issues that every e-commerce entrepreneur faces. Basically, how to export the orders from the online stores, how to connect the store with the courier company, with the online invoicing systems, and I could tell you a lot of nightmares that you have to solve if you run an e-commerce business. And basically, we started to develop our own system, our own software. And after a while, we realized that it's not just helping our problem; it helps the entire. It can help the entire ecosystem. And this was a time when we started to communicate Webshippy as a first fulfillment company, which gives the same level of service that the US companies. And after that, after 5 years now, we will celebrate our 5th birthday in the summer. We have more than 1,000 e-commerce stores, and we're transacting more than 150,000 packages monthly. So it was a huge growth. And the secret is the software. Still, the software is more like it looks like Webshippy is a logistic company with the almost 10,000 square meters fulfillment center. But in the behind the scenes, we're more like an IT company, because the secret sauce is the software that we are continuously developing.
Okay.
And also, Ilcsi is one of our customer that we are very proud of, and also Wolt is one of our strategic partners. But I would say stories later.
Okay, so let's see Wolt. Ákos.
Yes, hi everyone. Thanks for having me today. So, as András already said, it's very familiar faces. Zoltán and András, we've been working together very closely in the past couple of months. So no surprise, we are here together on this topic today. Some words about our company, Wolt. It's a Finnish startup, started about 6 years ago. Very usual story. A couple of young, bright engineers wanted to do something crazy, but didn't yet know what. And they, being very IT-driven software engineers, they started to develop a software that can help last mile logistics in city logistics optimization. And as turns out, one of them uncles had a pizzeria restaurant, so they needed to test what they built, and that's how food delivery came into the picture. And very fast after that, they've been quite successful in Helsinki and then in the Baltics countries and Scandinavian countries, and Hungary was the number 7 country in the Wolt history exactly 3 years ago when they expanded. And now we have been 7 countries. I think I was among the first 100 people in Wolt globally when I started Wolt Hungary as the first employee, and now in 3 years we are over 2,500 people who works at Wolt. And very similarly, as András said, we are an IT company. We stayed an IT company by heart. We have over 300 software engineers working on this logistic platform. And about our business a bit, in Hungary, in the 3 years, we now grown a lot. Very obvious that COVID helped us to accelerate our growth, but even by 2019, we've been experiencing very exponential growth rates in order numbers, which meant that we have by now about 4,000 to 5,000 active couriers on the street the majority is working in Budapest, but now we have 8 and very soon 9 cities where we do services in Hungary. We are present now in 23 countries overall, and in Hungary in 9 cities. So growing fast, investing into the business, and as you've seen, and think of Wolt as the blue couriers on the street who are delivering the meals very recently, and this is just the partnership with Ilcsi also and Webshippy. We're going into retail as well. We think that after that you can order anything online and it arrives within 2 days or in a week, we can take that down to half an hour to an hour. And this is a very unique service, whether we talk about grocery shopping, whether we talk about cosmetics, drugs, and this is our focus now in Hungary as well, and in every other cities among the more than 2,400 restaurants that we have on the platform now.
Okay, thanks. So we are talking about business model shift. So I'm very curious that what were the 3 key ingredients of your business model received in pre-coronavirus era? What growth you expected in the normal course? Could you just please a little bit speak about that? Zoli?
Yes. So the pre-coronavirus era, I think Ilcsi was in a bit of a a special situation because it's one of the big heritage brands in Hungary in cosmetics. One of the key pillar of the value proposition towards the customers, towards the aestheticians, was that the product itself was not available only with them, only with the aestheticians, by their personal recommendation, by their personal advices. And of course, along with the growth of Ilcsi, as I think if you go home today or you're at home or you would be at the workplace and you would go home, perhaps you could even meet with the 1 or 2 or 3 Ilcsi aestheticians on the way to home. There were serious issues and complaints from the users of ours that they didn't really get the product what they wanted from the aestheticians, only with the service, which they did not necessarily want. So with the rapid spreading of home based beauty care, I think the need was also evolving in the last 10 years at least from our users, that they would like to use our products also at home without the necessary visit of the aestheticians as well. That's why I think at that time we already faced the issue that we need to go online. At least we should, in an environment where we should somehow ensure those key value propositions which are identical to our brand, and it seemed to be that the online is quite a good kind of way of doing it. Apart from that one, I think the key pillar of Ilcsi was also the constant kind of innovation and production of those kind of new or even modern materials and creams and products that we produced. That was also quite an important part of the recipe, and the constant education of the aestheticians. And apart from that one, I think all of our, let's say, developments were aiming that single channel, which is called the professional use and the professional aestheticians, and also that's what we also aimed for with our export distributors as well. Ilcsi was in the past was also kind of harsh on that way, that there were times when it was explicitly forbidden for distributors on abroad to use e-commerce as a channel, because it was so much personal. The whole brand was prescribing itself that it should be personal and should be with the aestheticians, and that's why it was quite a big shift to do it online. By the way, we already started doing that as in the pre-coronavirus era in the autumn of 2019, and that was quite a start. I think that that was the very first milestone of our new strategy, what we have started doing. Of course, with the general applause and the happiness coming from our end users, and the general sometimes hatred coming from the aestheticians, which is absolutely understandable on both sides. I think right now we arrived to kind of a balance when even the aestheticians accepted that this is a new something and they should adapt to the new innovations. We're also using, of course, financial incentives. I can go into those details later as well. And also the new users are simply loving it. Of course, due to those many things, the products itself are good and are still good. There's also good fulfillment times what we are having in terms of packaging, fulfilling, and also delivery, also an export as well. Kind of a new story for us that has started and really solved, I think, one of the major boundaries or obstacle of growth of Ilcsi brand itself.
Okay, thanks, Zoli. András, we are in pre-coronavirus era. What growth you expected in the normal course?
Yeah, well, 3 key ingredients. It's funny because it's like in the when you property business, the three most important is location. In life of Webshippy is the tech innovation, and the tech innovation. The 3 key ingredients. It's very funny because at the end of the day, as an outsourced logistic company, the end user, the customer, only feels that they receive a package. They usually receive it from GLS or any other last mile delivery partners of Webshippy. But behind the scenes, what we are doing is basically we are the company who can do this entire logistic processes the fastest, with the highest transaction numbers, and with the lowest error rate in the market. I think that's why Webshippy could become a market leader in the last couple of years, and I think this is the secret sauce. This is the reason why our customers or the web shops love us. Basically, what we are doing is we are trying to always challenge our comfort zone, always stay out of the comfort zone, and always come out with innovations that makes the entire processes more automated, more simplified, and try to, how could I say, eliminate the possible errors in the system. We grew from 2 enthusiastic startup entrepreneurs from 120 employees in these last couple of years, and basically what we achieved is a system that it's very easy to connect. This proves that basically in our clients we have very small young entrepreneurs who are just starting their e-commerce businesses. But beside of that, we have large brands like Ilcsi or Moderator or the biggest names on the market. And the reason behind is that with our system, we created integrations with all the major e-commerce platforms, online store engines, online invoicing systems, and the systems of the courier companies. And basically connecting a web shop to the system of Webshippy is just a few clicks. In some situations, you need some more developments. For example, if some company uses a very special, unique ERP system or something, then we have an API that you can use to connect. But in most cases, connecting an online store is just a few clicks. And this leads to a very short installation time. So from 1 day to, for example, a week or 2 weeks, even a large company like Freshnop can start their online business and sell online, and we can get all the logistic issues for such a large company as well in just 1 or 2 weeks. This was our focus, and actually it didn't change because of coronavirus. So it's very interesting because the growth just doubled when the virus came. But I think that's for a question for later.
Yeah. Ákos?
So when we started in 18, it was a slow and difficult start because the market was much different than in Scandinavia, in the US, or in Asia, where food delivery was an everyday service that people really used a lot, and with many multinational or local players who were competing for the customers, and because of that, they all had very good services. So in Hungary, our view was that with providing this high-end service level, both for restaurants as partners, but for the end user, for our users, all the people who are hungry, will be the key to our success. So what we've done, we already built a portfolio of 500 restaurants in 2019, which was one of the key things, because if you don't have the portfolio, people cannot choose what they want to eat. So even if they try out Wolt, they will leave. So that was our key goal, to have a good portfolio, and of course marketing at the same time. It's very expensive and very online what we do in marketing. At the same time, we want to do it very, very efficiently, and in my view, our service is our best marketing. So even though we spend a lot on marketing, if a user tries out our service once and it's not good, or the food gets cold, it will be very expensive to bring that one user on. So our focus in 2019 was purely on our service level quality. And even if something went wrong, because people riding on the street, there is always hiccups, and this is why we invested in our customer support, who solves every problem within 30 seconds. And this was the uniqueness we built in the market in Hungary, and we've been busy with that, and we were also used to scaling up both our courier fleet, the number of couriers we have, and also the number of locations, number of restaurants that we have on our platform. So we were, as an IT company, introducing very many online processes already. So it was not new to us that we have to onboard the restaurant, onboard the courier, even without shaking hands in some cases. And I think we were lucky in that, because when Corona hit, it was the key to be able to scale up in a very short amount of time. But yeah, we can talk about Corona period a bit later, obviously.
Okay, we have one question, but we are going to deal with that just a few seconds later, because the next question is during the coronavirus era. So how did the pandemic distress, or rather boost, your company? And when did the management first realize this change? Zoli?
For us, I think I can only represent among the guys the distress part. So I can tell some issues around how did it look like. At least it was kind of expected and unexpected. Expected in a way because many of our export markets were already hit by the time when it actually came into Hungary. So we were also exporting to China, or to Hong Kong rather, but also we're facing issues in the US previously. So in January and February, last January and February, the news were slowly spreading that somebody started talking about that one. Okay, we cannot order because even the e-commerce was shut down in different countries. So it was quite an interesting way of the whole experience look like. And also, I also felt quite lucky because have participated in crisis management, all the things like that. We didn't know that how the entire situation might look like. So when it actually came that probably the beauty salons in Hungary, which is the biggest chunk of our sales, will be also closed, then I know the number one rule at that time, which was cash. So I already, and in a quite limited time, we shortened the cycle of order fulfillment and everything, and we practically speaking, in the end of March, we finished last March, so 2020 March, with a record high cash and equivalents status, which was quite beneficial at the beginning of the whole crisis, which was quite important. On the other hand, we also faced with a strongly upward and strong uplift in e-commerce sales, which was due to the situation that people couldn't really visit their statisticians and wanted to procure their product through e-commerce, which was again not a surprise, but many customers, especially from the countryside, found us through that that sales channel. And what we have done, that which was purely to spread the news that we are existing, and also kind of it was also a moral shift for us and for also the statisticians as well, because that kind of a hatred and that kind of a negative feeling in them was in the statisticians were putting us on the same side. We were at the very moment we were only operating the only sales channels which was able to reach the end users, and that's why we also offered a helping hand to them to help us to reach the end users, and we will give you commission. And that's what we started doing, practically speaking, from the first week onwards. We were handing over them individual coupons to spread over your clients, and relatively high commission will be rewarded at the end of the day. And that also helped us to boost the internet sales. On the other hand, we were also doing quite many things related to coming those who were reaching out for us because they wanted to have a beauty product to use at home. And also we launched a chat service, practically speaking, which in the website, which was also functioning from that time onwards, which was again not a miracle or not a big innovation, but it was not a chatbot or something, but real statisticians who finally had time for us to sit in front of the computer, and also so you can send images and send your questions to them, and immediately you would be then asked and then given an advice, and also some commercial offer as well to order your product. It was quite an interesting situation, and it was also quite an interesting experience that kind of a small business part of ourselves, which was the web shop, which nobody at the beginning could really with a belief couldn't really imagine that it could grow big. At that point of time really became our number one and most important leg of operation from one week to another, practically speaking. It was visible, it was growing, but in those critical months it exceeded the sales from the ordinary channels. Also counting in the exports as well in March, April, and May. And practically speaking, the funny thing is that the situation is just the same since then. So there were not kind of a decrease even after the first critical months.
Mm-hmm. How was your turnover affected, Zoli?
I mean, it's again, those numbers are kind of refreshed these days, because that's the thing which is again happening with us. So last year in the Hungarian sales, which is again the half of the total turnover of the company, has been decreased from one week to another by 70%. This year, because the situation is more or less the same, it's nearly 80-85%. The decrease itself. So not, I mean, it's something like there is the previous turnover was decreasing by 85%, which is a very serious issue. I think that that was a major shift in our sales. Somehow we started doing it and starting to deal with it. The web shop and the whole e-commerce. Without that one, I would even go that far that even I would question whether we would be still existing or not, by the way.
So it's a question of surviving.
At that part, yes.
Yeah. András, you experienced the big boost, I suppose.
Yeah, actually, there are very few companies, I think, very few industries who can say that they are the absolute winners of the situations, sadly or happily. Logistic is one of them. Basically, when the first lockdown was announced, I told my business partner Zoltán that man, we'll rock because everyone will order online, and that was the truth. Actually, the transaction numbers are started to grow very, very rapidly. Well, some stores went down, but some other stores went up. Some of them changed the product portfolio very quickly and started to, well, the very early birds started to sell masks online, and everyone started to order masks from Asia and started to sell it somewhere. So I remember there was a huge mess around this business. Everyone imported masks from everywhere, everywhere around the world. So it was very funny. There are a lot of new stores started to sell things online, and there were a lot of companies who basically started to sell online the very first time. So they didn't have an online presence before, which is very, very interesting because these are very strong commercial brands, but it didn't have any online presence. So they actually launched their stores in 1 month or three weeks, and started to sell online and started to grow rapidly. As I mentioned earlier, we can adapt very quickly, so we can onboard these clients very, very quickly. So these huge brands can start the e-commerce business with us very easily, which was a big help for them as well, because I think not so many companies could have been that quickly flexible in these situations. So we could do this, and so actually we actually see at the very beginning we saw that this is something which will help our company very much. Actually, Webshippy was in a growth strategy, so we almost double every year. So in this year we'll be almost tripled our transaction numbers. So yeah, it was very interesting for us. Our biggest benefit of our software is it's very flexible. It's very, very scalable. So for us, opening new packing stations is very easy. Training new employees is very fast and easy. So a new employee, after 4 hours of training, can start to do the same picking or packing progress or processes as all the others. So we could scale up very fast. Also, we had to rent a new warehouse. This warehouse that we have moved to after the second part of the year, we moved to an absolutely new warehouse from 2,000 square meters. Now we're almost 10,000 square meters. So it was a big step, but we needed it.
So it was not only a boost of your company, but you were a big booster of other companies as well, as I understood.
That's right. Well, yeah, this is I think logistic companies are everywhere, are helping everywhere now. So on the last mile side as well, so the GLS and other last mile courier companies help others as well, because they have to handle this. So basically it was Christmas every day for all these companies. Or Black Friday every week. So we all had to handle this huge amount of orders, but yeah, the good providers could handle this very well.
Okay, you had a Christmas time in 2019, but when did you realize first the change? I mean, after Christmas, in January, in March?
I think it's at the end of February, beginning of March. Yeah. Well, we realized that usually every January, February, the volume is getting back a little bit, and this year it didn't. So basically, the growth were continuous and went down linear.
Ákos, what happened with you and your company?
Yeah, so we experienced that in the first week of March. I remember when all the restaurants who we've been discussing for months to join our platform just start calling one after the other in 2 days period. So we had to onboard more than 500 restaurant partners in, at the time, 5 cities in like 2 weeks, because we want them to be online very fast. And then we also experienced, obviously, the order growth, when people couldn't go into the restaurants, they ordered more. And within a month or two, we probably had our order numbers 4 times bigger than it was in February. So it was a very exponential growth that we had to bear, and we did, but we still kept in mind that at the same time, what we had to do, we had to onboard more than 1,000 career partners in a couple of days, within a week, to be with all these orders that we had to do, because we still wanted to have the promise to the customer that to keep the promise of 30-35 minutes of delivery time, because we believe that at the time we didn't know how long Corona will last. Will it be a couple of months and then it goes away? Nobody really knew. So we really looked at this as an opportunity to accelerate growth without the marketing investment in a much shorter period of time that we had planned before. We had this plan in mind for 2020 to grow this much, but obviously we just made 2020 plans within 1 month, and then even after that, we're still constantly growing, and we believe that what we do is not going to go back down even after restaurants open, even after people are vaccinated, because what we see already, and we have seen that in the past five years in other countries, that in our industry growth rates are very high in general. People are getting more and more of these we call it a bit luxury services, which makes our life easier, more efficient, and in this time many of our users would probably not tried it, but they had to try it because they couldn't go out, and I think after everyone's vaccinated, food delivery will stay with people's life. Maybe not that many times, but they will have the option because they know it. They will be more comfortable with it, and same goes with other product deliveries that, as I said, we're planning to do on the retail side, whether it's grocery, druggeries, or anything else. So I think people's habits have changed, and we probably never go back to those old habits. It will be very nice to be out again in restaurants and sitting together, but ordering food is a convenient service that people will keep using, I believe.
But how could you cope with this huge change? So what do you think, Ákos? What were the top 3 steps you took to respond to market needs? I mean, in the organization.
Yeah.
So how did you cope?
So we have 3 pillars how we operate. One is what we call operations, and those are the team who are dealing with the couriers. So what we had to do in half a day is made all the processes from applying, training couriers, signing contracts with couriers, handing out the delivery bags and blue jackets to couriers online. There was a 5-minute window after a courier went through this process, watched the online video, take the test, sign the contract. We set them up in the system. There was 5 minutes window, which each person, when they could come to our office, and we give them the gear and they are good to go. And that was one part of how we dealt with it, and it was very important because we had to just onboard so many people. And the second part is our restaurant operation team. Same thing happened. We didn't go out to sign contracts to restaurants. We always give an iPad to the restaurants, and through this iPad they receive the restaurants. We made that basically with our own couriers. We delivered the iPad. It was set, we signed the contract online. So again, we made everything possible online. We did trainings to restaurants online. And the third thing, which is one of the most important, which is the customer support. At that time, we had 35 people in the company. Within 2 months, we had to hire 30 people only for customer support positions online. Never met them, delivered them a monitor, a laptop, everything they need to do their job, train them, and we made that happen. It was difficult. Those were long days, long nights for most of the team members who had to do this. But I remember it was March 10th when I decided that everyone will be working from home office, except the 3 guys who are handing out the courier gears. And when we made that happen in 24 hours, we had to buy computers, obviously, and more equipment. But with the quick decisions, I think we were able to just grow. At the same time, customers on the other end didn't experience that we are having operational difficulties. They experience that we have more restaurants. All the menus of those restaurants were uploaded with pictures, with everything that's usually we do. And since then, we keep growing. At that time, I said we had 500 restaurants onboarded, and again of 500 in the first 3 weeks of March. And then now we are over 2,400 restaurants. So the growth rate is still there and didn't stop. But by now we are over 140, 150 people. So we can more easily do that. Plus we have enough couriers. It was easy to find couriers. We have still now several thousands of people applying, and obviously we constantly putting new and new people onto the platform as couriers, but we cannot, have everyone. And I see there is a question exactly on this topic. Shall I answer that? Or later?
Yes. I think this question has a place here. So what problems you faced while working with freelancers, independent contractors in Hungarian business environment? How did you deal with it? Or are the riders on some kind of employment contracts?
No, all of our 90% of our couriers are sole entrepreneurs, quota people, as we know, and some students who also work for us through student associations. From the beginning, we took very seriously the training of all the couriers we onboard. If you used Wolt, as a user, you give ratings after every order for the delivery and for the food separately. If a courier gets bad feedback, we ask the customer right away what happened. And also the restaurant can give us feedback on couriers. So within these 3 years, but it was difficult in the beginning, but after half a year, people know that if they join Wolt, what is the expectation, how they behave, what they do, what they can do, cannot do, because after a mistake, after 2 mistakes, we let them go. I mean, we take that very seriously. I mean, there are mistakes, accidental mistakes, but behavior, how they act with customers, how they act within a restaurant, we take that very seriously. So we just select from the beginning. That's why we do tests before they join, the right people. If they don't turn out to be the right career partners, we unfortunately have the luxury to let them go, and that's how we keep the service at the highest level. It's hard work, but it's worth doing. They are the only physical presence that a customer see on the street or meet when a food is delivered. Otherwise, we are this online app somewhere in the cloud without face.
How many couriers did you have to lay off to kick off?
Well, in 3 years we had many situations when we had to do this, but it's a couple of percentage points, so it's not a lot. It was more in the beginning, but it's not bad at all. But there is always issues with 4,000 or 5,000 people on the street every day. There are good stories.
Okay, thanks.
Not so good stories as well.
András, I just feel from the words of Ákos that this system is very much sharpened. If an error slips into this system, will everything upset? What do you think so?
You mean the logistics system?
Yeah, logistics system, courier system.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why we are focusing on being as much error-free as we can. I think it's making a mistake is very expensive in the e-commerce, because I remember at the very beginning when we just only had our own stores and we sent out orders. Sometimes we made a mistake. We put, for example, 2 creams instead of 3 creams, 3 products. Or we just sometimes we forget to insert the invoice into the package. So all of these mistakes are very expensive, because you have to get back the package. It's a logistic cost. You have to change it. You have to send it again. It's another logistic cost that you have to pay. You have a goodwill, you have a marketing cost. So yeah, making a mistake is very expensive. That's why we are continuously focusing on making our system as much error-free as it's possible. Especially in this period when everything grows very fast, you have to concentrate on not growing too fast. I mean, we had to concentrate about on some topics, like there were customers who signed up and wanted to outsource the logistics, and we started to help, but we had to realize that this is not it's not good fit. It's not the best fit. For example, there are some kind of customers who we just realized that we cannot handle that efficiently as others. So this was basically a learning curve for us, and we started to know our own service much better, because of everything started to happen much faster than before. I just wanted to say that basically the pandemic was what happened. It wasn't a surprise for us, because it was easy, because we were planned to grow. We were in the growth phase. So for example, moving to a new warehouse for us, it was planned, but it was planned for August, not for March. And so we just basically did what we had done even without the pandemic, just started to do it earlier, not later. So it was a very funny thing because we had goals, of course, sales goals and marketing goals, and everyone was laughing because we just realized that we are reaching our goals without doing the work because the pandemic does all the work instead of the sales team. So, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe just one comment on András, because I think it's important to understand why a mistake is very expensive. All these businesses, logistics, food delivery, the margins are very narrow. I mean, yes, we are talking about per transactions, sometimes 50 forints, sometimes 150 forints margins. So if you make a mistake of a 2,000 forint pizza, plus the fee that you have to pay to the courier to deliver again that pizza, that eats away lots of margin. And this is the game we are in. And this is why we're talking a lot about scaling, because to be able to make money and invest wisely at the same time in marketing activities, you have to be absolutely sure that your service is 99% bulletproof. It never will be 100, but if it's close to that, or you aim always, and one way to aim to 100% is IT excellence or IT systems. So I think that's very important to understand.
Yeah, that's right.
Just one question after Miklós. You mentioned that there were some customers not fitting very much to your system. What happened with them?
Mm-hmm. Well, it was well, basically after they are not our customers anymore. Basically, they are solved the logistic issues by themselves. So there are two types of online. We can say a web shop order and an online. I don't know how to say it in English. So usually when you buy something in a web shop, you usually pick a product, one or two products or three products. The average item count is like 3.5 in an online order. But there are a thing what we can call online shopping. Is, for example, if you let's say for example, if you want to order from Tesco, you don't order two small things. You usually put like 15 or 20 items in your basket. And we didn't realize this at the very beginning. We started to work with a company. I don't want to mention the name. It doesn't really matter. But we started to help to this huge company, and we didn't realize at the very beginning that this needs a totally different operation than putting 2 or 3 items in a basket. This operation needs totally different shelf system, totally different packaging materials. So everything is different. We wanted to solve the problem because everyone was in a rush. They said, okay, we need to solve it. We need to solve it somehow. We are facing like 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 orders and it's blocked. So we have to send them out. So you're a fulfillment company, maybe you can help. And we wanted to help, but we realized it very late that this operation is not what we can handle that easily. So we promised some numbers and we couldn't make the numbers. So it was a bit strange situation, but we realized, both of us, that yeah, this is a totally different kind of thing. And they were glad that we could help in a small amount of packages, but they needed to enhance their own logistic operations. Yeah, they needed to develop their own operations, and they're still developing their own operations.
Yeah, it says to me that the business model is just operating, or the successful business model just turns out in practice. That's it. So you imagine something and in practice it's absolutely totally another route. But Miklós, you have a question or remark?
Yeah, thank you, Edina, and thank you, gentlemen, for sharing those insights. Yeah, my comment is trying to share some of the early research results, and by the same token asking if you have any related experience. And I understand that Zoltán is in a very different situation now than András and Ákos, so maybe they have a very different story. So first of all, making this major change that you indicated, especially Zoltán, who was under pressure of falling revenues. Many decision makers have a fear of making such major change away from the normal business model, the normal business practice. And they either are hesitant to make these bold steps, or they make those steps too late. So I wonder if you have any personal experience related to the current situation, if you are one of those who were maybe a bit late, or maybe you're still considering some major change that you have not made yet. And my other comment is related to the role of the top management. Because in such situations, it often happens in most companies that it's primarily a decision coming from the very top of the organization, with not much consultation with the colleagues. So was it similar in your case? Was it really a 1, 2, 3 persons maximum who made this decision of this major change in the business model? Or did you have any reason to do it differently? So these are just my comments, and at the same time, questions.
Zoli, could you start the line?
Yes, it's a very interesting question. I think starting from the first one, one of our, or I think the biggest priority of ours was to keep everyone safe and healthy in our headquarters, which is also the production facility. So one of the most important priority of mine was to keep we are having a clean production. So perhaps in working on the production field, that it's absolutely should be clean. Everything should be free from any waste or any kind of infection or something. We are heavily testing also each and every batch of our production. And people are working more or less closely to one another, so we had to ensure that they are safe. So, and in the history of our company, the commercial people and the production people were working more or less side by side. So the moment when I decided that the commercial guys and the whole office goes home, that was also quite weird to them, that they needed to accept that this happens quite quickly, and I had to explain them that, okay, guys, but it's also for your health and for your benefit that somebody doesn't really bring anything inside, which might be potentially dangerous for your own health and also for the company's health. We also experienced, by the way, that one of our distributors were importing is the biggest importer of Italian hair care products from Milan, and the hairdressers were refusing to buy it in the beginning because that was the source of pandemic. So it's not. I mean, of course we can say that it sounds a bit funny, but at that time they were not laughing. So because it's absolutely doesn't really have any kind of a real logical reason to not to buy Italian healthcare product, but I didn't want to face that situation that even the users are having any kind of questions in them. And that's why I think that many cases we were even ahead in terms of strictness, and even in terms of business steps ahead the curve. So absolutely not following, but rather making the decisions earlier than it was even announced. So we were always having stricter policies for health, for safety, for home office, for everything. I remember that there was some kind of a introduction of those rules that people have to wear face masks inside the office or inside indoor in Hungary from last September or last November, perhaps, or October. I don't really remember, but absolutely from the beginning of the pandemic, we introduced that rule, practically speaking, from last April. So we were doing it quite strictly in this way and making those decisions quite upfront. People didn't really like it, but after a quick thinking, they accepted it. So it wasn't kind of a question. And who made all those decisions? I think that we are quite in an interesting situation, because at this time, practically speaking, we are developing our middle management system, so to say. So at that time, me and the owner were making those decisions. So, but I realized that the whole effort, the common effort, was giving some extra energy to the whole team. I remember even that there was a time when I came to the bed, started sleeping, and woke up at 2 a.m. or something, and I was realizing that there's still ongoing discussion on one of our Teams channels with some marketing promotion during the pandemic, because people were still working. They wanted to help, and they wanted to cope with the difficulties and everything. And I think we learned a lot from that one, and we started to also to strengthen the team spirit as well, which is, by the way, a big problem with the whole home office thing and the whole operations, a kind of remoteness, that we still keep up the spirit and the soul of the team as well, and not only the ties in the teams and the WebEx channels. That's a major issue for us to also to be able to grow. And also, I also felt the feeling, how does it look like when I hire someone totally on online basis, and to be able to somehow onboard them without any personal meetings. These were the bigger issues.
András?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think I'm a little bit lost in the forest. What was the original question? Because
yeah, for you, it's maybe more positive than in case of Zoltán. So were there any major decisions that were really not just scaling up your usual operations, but some breaking away of the usual business? And was it a difficult decision to be made? Do you still contemplate to do some of these decisions? And is it you and a couple of owners or top managers, or do you involve more people from your organization?
Yes, absolutely. That's 100% relevant for us, because it was only most of the time it was a good side for our business. But one thing was a bit difficult to make a decision, is basically to move into this new property. Basically, we had a plan, we had a financial plan, and everything was calculated that the move will be on the end of August. And instead of the end of August, we had to decide whether if we can move to this new property in this new warehouse in March, or what should we do? So we jump into the lake now, into the cold water, and believe that the growth will continuously happen, or just go with the plan and wait as we planned earlier. So we had to make this decision, but it was quite quick. Actually, me and my partner, we are the decision makers in this kind of questions, and we usually do these late night calls after each business day around 10 p.m. and we call each other and discuss these things. And he's very quickly a thinker. I'm quite a quick thinker as well. So basically, we just ask that we want to grow or we don't want to grow. And of course, yes, we do want to grow. We always choose to grow. So maybe it's like it's double or nothing kind of things. But let's do it. Let's jump into it, and we will see. We'll solve it. So, and yeah, it turned out well at the end.
Ákos?
Yeah, in our case, I would say there were two things that first we came together as all our CEO and all the country heads GMs. And within 1 hour, we decided what we're gonna do. One, how much we are willing to spend and invest to help restaurants. Because in our situation, what drives our business at the end of the day is our restaurant portfolio. We're at the time restaurant only. Now it's retail as well. So we need to make sure, and who in Budapest in particular, who got in the deepest trouble were those restaurant owners. They were living off 70-80% of their revenue was through tourists who visited, and from one day to another, 70-80% of their revenue was cut. So we made some decisions how much we invest back into and how to restaurants, cutting our commission, not asking commission if it's a takeaway order, etc., etc. And based on those levers, and obviously the other one was the safety of our couriers, meaning that they are sole entrepreneurs, so they are not employees on health benefits from Wolt. They have accident insurance from us, but no other health benefits. So we didn't want them to work if they feel that they got the coronavirus, because then we were the ones spreading the virus through our courier fleet. So what happened is we introduced a program that if you are a courier at Wolt and you feel sick, you go get a test and you can sit out for 2 weeks, and we still will compensate. You're not able to earn and work, but we will compensate you. These are the stuff that made sort of very, very high level decisions with a big amount next to it. And from that down, in a couple of weeks, we introduced new features in our applications, like no contact delivery, support our your favorite restaurants. We did many smaller things, but these were the fundamentals we practically decided in one evening, 2 hours call, because it was very clear. We are lucky because we are well backed financially by big investors, so we could do that. But also we wanted to do that because we are investing in the long term. And we believe that if those restaurants survive, it's been more than a year, so it's a different story. We were really thinking about a couple of months back then. If they survive, our business will be also better off. And we had the financial backing, we had the growth, so we could support them. These were the main decisions we made in really less than 1 day.
Thank you, gentlemen. Very insightful. So probably you wouldn't be here if you would be one of those hesitating to make those quick decisions. Now I understand. And these are very centralized decisions also in your case. Yeah. Thank you very much.
There is one more question, Ákos, to you. Who is Wolt Hungary's owner? Is it a franchise? You mentioned the Finnish owner.
Yeah, it's a Finnish holding company, and there are many investors and employees who are, at the end of the day, owners or shareholders of the Finnish holding entity.
Just one more question to András, because I'm wondering that there was something in your mind about item per order number, but practice just has overwritten it. So is it a model change, or do you deem this as a model change? It's because you mentioned these huge items per order and just it didn't function. So how do you deem this situation?
Well, the item per order growth was only for one customer, so only for one web shop. Most of our web shop it didn't change, so it's usually 3.2, 3.5 items per order there's the usual there's the average item count in the order. So it didn't change. People didn't order more products because of the pandemic. They order more products from these kind of stores for Tesco. I don't know, kifli.hu, it's a very good example. So groceries that rise, but not those stores that we have.
Okay, Zoli, what do you think? How to survive?
How to survive? I think it's what we needed to pay big attention to is, and also what we do pay a big attention to is to give the right product to our customers and the right solution for them. So we didn't want to simply forget about the main values of our company, the personalization, the personal advices, the skin condition based advices and diagnosis and everything. And I think we officially launched our strategy in the beginning of this year. Our new strategy is practically being built on the idea of going digital even more, and also we are having we introduced it last May, kind of a new service which enables us to have those key values also digital, what we are having in person with the esthetician. So practically speaking, it looks like that we are having a kind of a prescription written by the esthetician toward the customers, and being able to give an advice and also some discounts on those products that he or she has chosen, and what is best for her skin condition, and he or she could get it through the web shop. That was one of the things what we have done. And also, I think how to survive in the long run, it's
sorry, but so is it a successful I don't know thing? So do you think that okay, it will be just functioning in the future as well? So
yes,
it's a good so this is a good direction. You have experience.
Definitely, okay. And also it's also different products, I think, but it's also not a coincidence that the cosmetics in general, it's a good example of e-commerce success in general, because it has relatively high margin content and also relatively low weight, which is also ideal for transportation and for logistics, and being even transported to the other continent as well, with also some margins. So it makes some sense to do it in this way. I think it's from a cosmetics company, it's a must to do in an e-commerce way. I think that that for us, it will definitely stay with us, how we work and how we will continue it further on. And also we are expanded this logic not only for Hungary but also for the neighboring countries as well, to definitely to Poland, and also to which is a separately operated website, but also to other European Union member states as well. That's what we do, and that's how we do it. I think that that's my forecast, that this business will outgrow the other parts of our company's businesses, which is more or less due to the expansion of retail sales directly to the end users. I think that what also really much comes back to us, and it's a major kind of acceptance and good feedback that we have chosen the right way, that when everything went back kind of went back normal in last June or July, the whole sales of our esthetician sales were coming back to the past level, and even our e-commerce level was at the very high as was in the previous months. So practically speaking, we managed to arrive new customers and to get new ones and be able to supply them quite well. And that was a major success, that we did not only managed to keep alive the aestheticians and their businesses, but also we managed to acquire new end users, which is absolutely kind of a good feedback of whether you have chosen a good strategy or not. I think that was a good way of doing it, and that's what we experience also in these days, and we hope so that that at least there will be a time when we go back to at least a bit similar normal that it looked like in the past years.
It's a sensitive question, but how much time do you have to survive?
I think, practically speaking, the survival is not anymore a question for Ilcsi, I think. So the whole structure and the whole margin structure looks totally different in the wholesale model that we have previously worked in, because in the past, when we were selling to aestheticians, it have gone through 2 wholesale partners as well. So practically speaking, we're selling wholesale prices, while we are selling to end users, we are selling to at retail prices directly. So perhaps I shouldn't go into that one, but I think it already explains itself that it has a very different margin structure than selling it directly in wholesale. So it means that on one product sold, I can save much more money than I have sold it previously in the wholesale channels. It means that we have improved capacity for those times when there are another closures like these times, and we can have bigger storage of oxygen in case we needed to live under the water for even a couple of months. So I don't really worry about ourselves anymore.
Super. I would like to encourage everyone to raise your questions into the chat box. But during that time that having those questions, I'm very curious that if 2 business departments most affected by the change were to be highlighted, which ones would that be? What do you think, Ákos? You mentioned operation. That was one.
So say again, sorry, I couldn't get that. So which business function would be important, or?
Which business departments, units most affected by the change? So if you should highlight 2 ones, which ones would that be? So one of those was operation?
So, I don't think we have or we can separate any of these, because if a business grows, most likely all the units need to scale, whether it's the IT backend part and need more server space, or more couriers on the street, or need to order more iPads, or need more support service people in customer support. I mean, that's not how it works, that we can, you know, scale one part of the business and the other part just lives naturally there as it is. You have to balance, I think, in every business you are in, every part of the business to work, to function. Yes, it might not be as quick on one side of the business than the other side of the business, but you have to balance every day. You have to shuffle every day, because if one side of the business, one side of the operation, whether it's sales or operations or IT or marketing, is not in balance to the other side of business, you will have inefficiency, or you will lose money, or you not going to make money. That's no answer that one side of the business will solve it all. I think never.
Is this the hardest side?
I hope.
And is
I
it
hope
the hardest?
It was, but yeah.
Is it the hardest side of company management? I mean, having this balance?
I think that's company management.
Okay, András?
I totally agree with Ákos. You cannot pick 2 or 3. It's the whole company has to focus on this topic. I could say, yeah, the developments, so the developers, the IT team, and the HR. I would say the HR team, yeah, that was most affected because they had to hire a lot of people, but it wasn't a big deal because a lot of people lost their jobs, for example. So it was a huge shuffle on the market, on the HR market, I think. Yeah, the real estate and the HR, there was the 2 well, real estate is not a department, but this was the biggest question, as I mentioned, to move or not move. But basically, HR and the operation, the everyday operations.
Zoli?
For us, the biggest question was, and the biggest department in question was, I think that was the customer service. Everyone was working like hell. I totally reshuffled positions and job descriptions, if you like, because I told them that, okay, if you don't have a wholesale client, that you will help in the e-commerce side. So that's out of question. So it should be out of question from the point zero when the crisis hits. But the customer service was really something which was growing like hell in terms of complaints sometimes, or just simply questions what to choose, what not to choose. But I also encourage my colleagues to try to leverage from the situation that, okay, in the one hand side, we have plenty of demand from the e-commerce side. On the other side, I have some aestheticians at home, so why not to let them meet in terms of a chat or something what they could do remotely from their computers and give personal advices from their desktops. Practically speaking, that's what one of our colleagues invented quite quickly, and it worked quite well. And also, I can say that the customer service itself looked like in a way that we also closed our own beauty salon as well, and the whole reception there went, practically speaking, to be the web shop customer service representatives from one day to another. We were having a small training and they were doing it quite nicely. So there were some desperate times and desperate measures, and it seems to be that we are getting used to it. The biggest advantage of it that this year, when almost the same thing hit us in terms of crisis, the whole transition lasted for a day maximum. So we know the recipe, we knew what to do and knew how to act, and we're installing all of those things that we have previously installed, plus some extra as well, because we also introduced online training for aestheticians. What we do it remotely. We have already done our online studio to do it. So yes, so for our answer is the customer service itself, which was quite also in question.
We have a question here to Webshippy. In the drop shopping section of your business, what kind of challenges did you face with the logistical changes in the beginning of pandemic, especially? To what extent it hurt your business? Partly it was answered, but I think only partly.
Yeah, dropshipping is it's a good question because we haven't mentioned this topic earlier. Well, beside of the fulfillment, we have a dropshipping service. Let's say service. Well, we realized that there are plenty of e-commerce stores out there who figuring out what to sell and where to buy from is a good question. It's a great question. It's not so easy. So we created at the beginning of last year. We created a wholesale marketplace. So basically, we collected all the items, all the products of the online stores and some wholesalers in our system into one unified platform. Basically, it looks like an online store inside of the system of Webshippy, where other stores can pick items, pick products, and import to their existing online store. So they see the wholesale prices and see the selling prices. So basically, they can import these products to their store, and basically they only need to pay the wholesale price when they already sold the product. So this is the classic drop shipping. And the question was how was this affected because of the pandemic? Well, basically these products are all stored in our warehouse. So some wholesalers send the inventory every week, some of them every 2 weeks, but the drop shipping products are all mostly stored in our warehouse. In the very beginning, there were some logistic issues. So some wholesaler couldn't send the inventory every week, but only after 3 weeks, for example. But the inventory level went low, but they didn't went to zero. So basically, it started with some glitches, but didn't affect that much. I think this drop shipping is a very good model. Online store owners like it very much around the world, and the thing that we can start this, we can provide this service here in Hungary at the beginning. It leads to a lot of new stores, new online stores, online sellers who couldn't find a supplier earlier, but because of this, they could started to sell something to their audience, for example, influencers or other audience. So the short answer is it didn't really affect it.
Thank you for the question for Nitish Pandi from YouTube. And I'm also curious, I think you see a lot of other companies around you. How do you deem who was able to successfully stay in the market and who fell and why?
I think I have a very, very favorite quote from Darwin, who said that those creatures will survive who can adapt for the changes, mostly. So not the strongest creature will survive. I think this is true. I learned it on my skin. For several years, I used to be in the advertising industry. I used to have my own agency, and then I sold it, and that was my first exit when I was 29. And then after a couple of years, I lost everything, and everything was terrible in my life. And then again, the line started to go up. So I absolutely used to this type of this funny trick of life is the ups and downs. Everything is changing always. This was a new situation. I think this pandemic was a facepalm from the entire world, and a lot of companies and a lot of people just realized that they can just do a 180-degree and turn around and do something absolutely new. For example, if you see the restaurants, one of my favorite brand is Zing Burger. I am pretty sure everyone knows it, and I know the owner very well. And what they just said is just beside of sending out food, beside of food delivery, they came out with a book. And as far as I know, they started an online course, a cooking course. And these are the new ideas. When a new situation comes, you have to adapt. You have to come out with a new idea. I know other people who did something for years and years, and I know that this guy always said that I don't like my workplace. I don't like my workplace. Now the situation came, and it moved out him from their comfort zone, and now he found something what he really loves. So basically, I think there is always change in life. Those can survive who can adapt.
Ákos or Zoli?
So businesses around us that had a hard time. That was the question, or wasn't successful.
Yeah, or what is the key, or being successfully stayed on the market? What is the key?
Yeah,
to survive?
I think
Yeah.
András already said that change is the only constant thing, probably in every business, with Corona or without Corona. So
that's why I started.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that we have to be very agile every day. I mean, Corona taught us a lot, and every business, to be agile and quick, and because we were there was no other option. I think we still have to do that, and usually successful businesses can change a lot, and paranoid enough to foresee the future threat of the business. So you have to prepare for what's next, and this is very difficult to do when you are living in a fast-pacing environment. Most industry is living anyway in a fast-pacing environment, going digital, going online, new technology innovations coming into every industry. At the same time, you still have to somehow prepare for the future, whether you need to hire more people now so you can have enough talent in your organization, and half a year from now you have to invest in marketing now, because it's a good time to invest in new verticals, for example. So I think you just have to be very down to earth, and we at Wolt are quite, or so far I think we are quite good at to always be down to earth and make decisions based on common sense, not because we said nice phrases on strategy last year and we just want to do accordingly, but because it still makes sense today. And if it doesn't make sense what we said last year, we just change and adopt. And I think this is very critical. And all of we are a flat organization. Being young, it's enough, or it's easy to be a very flat organization, but we're working towards to keep our decision making and organization flat, because that's how you are able to stay very agile and adopt every day, because you will need to adopt every day.
So flat organization is a kind of key of success. Why do you think?
Work is a key of success. Many things can make success, but I think execution and work is probably 80% of success, and everything else comes next to it. Yeah, you should be very strategic. You should be very pragmatic in decision making, and you have to have a vision. These are all nice things, but I think you just have to work, and if you have a smart team around you, then you're gonna be successful.
Zoli, so how do you deem who was able to successfully stay in the market and who fell, and why?
Businesses I see from my practice is rather connected with the beauty industry, and in which the people are earning their biggest part of their money with their own hands, personally with someone. So either already the estheticians or the hairdressers. Some of them try to open some online stores or visit their clients personally at home or something. So they also started to reinvent themselves. But practically speaking, I know that they surely will not be able to survive with us helping them to sell the products, their own customers, their own clients. So that's not enough. Definitely, they are making much more money with their services. So I think that part of the business will be heavily challenged even in these times this year. What I think that the reaction time is much shorter from many of them. I see that they are a bit more prepared, which is good. Also, on the other hand, they are also scared sometimes because they don't know how it will last, when it will come back again. From other business partners, practically speaking, I think it's a positive thing, at least what I see, that from the supply side, that everyone was somehow predicting that there will be big blocks in the supply chain coming from Asia, coming from other parts of Europe during the pandemic. And practically speaking, that's the part that was completely missing. So there was no bottlenecks in supply, no bottlenecks, no problems. Our bottles are coming from Germany. There were no issues. Some of our ingredients what we buy, a minor part of them coming from Asia. They were like a Swiss clock in many of the times. So everyone was expecting in the beginning of the pandemic that the supply chains will go upside down, but we didn't experience anything. So that was also a good sign that that these things which have been built up in the last decades were functioning properly, which I think in the beginning, in a year ago, people were raising questions whether these supply chains will look like totally differently. No, they don't look differently than they look exactly the same that they looked before. So that's a great thing, I think. Also, on the other hand, I see that the service industry itself is facing serious issues, and they need to somehow adapt to it, which I think that they have a limited space to do so.
If you had to divide 10 points between luck and adaptation, what would be the distribution of as the factors of your present status of your company?
So what was the question then? So I mean, if I need to distribute 10 points between luck and
adaptation.
Oh, it was 100% adaptation, no question. So we didn't have any luck any time, I think, in the last 1 year. So I think that perhaps that was, I think that we were, I mean, even I would say we were, I think that we were quite well paid off mostly all of our decisions. So the fact that I think even we were managing to, in the very end of last year, we were kind of reaching the first employee with the coronavirus diagnosis. So it was also kind of a success in a way, because I was happy that not earlier. So and we were that was also in terms of kind of a success, but also in a way that we were working heavily to protect our employees and to do everything what we can to keep them together. And even I think that we were ended last year in a way that also it was kind of a financial success, and also even with higher employee numbers in terms of headcount than we were started the last year. So it was a growth in headcount. So I think that in many ways it was a steep learning curve, but we managed to adapt, and also we were having the resources to do so. Which is also precondition for adaptation. We could finance our model change, and also to be able to do those things. We were prepared, honestly speaking. So that's a big difference, I think, to many businesses who were started to reinvent themselves in a week or 2 weeks. Where practically speaking, all of these things what I explained were in the tube already when the crisis hit. And also that's why it's easier this year to relaunch those initiatives what we have started. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Ákos, András, 10 points distribution between luck and the adaptation.
No luck at all.
Yeah, I think I be nice and I give 1 to luck, but truly it's adaptation and the luck I say because we were anyway on a growth path, so it was not a surprise to us that you have to grow week by week. Yes, this was a bigger growth that we have to step up, but that's the only luck part. I mean, you have to still make it happen.
András?
Absolutely the same. The funny thing is that we are very similar. The two companies are very similar, and absolutely no luck here. Luck is because the sales guys don't have to work that much this year because we already did our numbers. So, but adaptations, yeah, we're in the growth strategy. You have to do what you have planned, and that's all.
We are almost just at the end of this conversation, and there is a question here that do they have all 3 a mentor? Do you have a mentor just behind you?
Everyone is a mentor. Yeah, well, you have to keep smart people around you. I think, yeah, wise people always find mentors for themselves. Sometimes I talk with Ákos and I feel that he's my mentor in a question. And in other moments, I talk to my daughter and she is my mentor. So everyone can say clever things. You have to follow. I think this is the only thing. You have to realize that you're not the most cleverest person in the room, and you have to keep watching and always constantly learning.
Zoli?
What I learned a lot from that one, that I'm always need to be with open ears, because those feedbacks and those infos and those points to track are there with the market, and there with the life in many ways. What we need to do, and we need how to do it, but we need to listen carefully to do so. So I think in case we can accept that one as a mentorship, I think it's a great thing to do. But I don't have a kind of a mentor. I'm more like having many good employees, colleagues, and also advisors who could have sometimes even comes time to say that in many ways, in terms of e-commerce, I used to call, for example, András in many ways, which I need an advice what to do and what not to do, because he has plenty of experience on that one. But also in many other ways, I have great people around myself whom I can ask as an opinion. But in case I'm open ears, and I can also gather those infos from myself, which is a great story. I have also a question, if I might ask from the colleagues. How does it look like, guys, differently, or does it look like at all differently this year, which is, again, we are celebrating the first kind of 1 year birthday of this story with exactly the same situation that we were in a year ago. Is it the same? Many web shops are coming, András, and many restaurants are coming for you, Ákos, or sorry for taking the moderator's role, but I was heavily interested in these questions to ask from the guys.
Yeah, for us, there's only that many restaurants available, and we already see a churn where restaurants need to close down. So it's and there is an end to it. That's why we started very heavily to build new verticals, like retail. That's why we start working on new business models that's been built on our existing logistical systems, like delivery as a service, where, for example, an order can be put on a different website, not on Wolt, but we still deliver. That's again a new vertical, a new business opportunity for the long term, and also geographically we are expanding heavily. So since we had to boost our resources to cope up last year, keep up with the growth, now we're using those resources elsewhere and still growing, because there is lots of opportunity, we think, in the space.
Thank you.
For us, it's a bit difficult to tell you this, because actually we are growing constantly, and this growth is linear, and it's very difficult to say that this is because another lockdown, or this is because a pandemic, because a lot of online stores are still joining to Webshippy. I think outsourcing the logistics, e-commerce as the thing is like growing rapidly. More and more online stores are opening every day, and people are ordering online more and more. So it's pandemic is just it was just a catalyst, but it just gave a boost to this thing. But the whole industry is growing, and I think what happened is that basically Hungary, or let's say Eastern Europe, but most like Hungary, was at least 10 years behind the Western European markets or the American markets. People were afraid to buy online, and many people, as you know, many people still use cash on delivery in the stores. 50-60% of the people are paying in cash on delivery because the trust is very low, and I think the entire trust in the online purchasing was very low, and I think this was changed, and it wasn't because and this is not just focusing for a period, for the lockdown period, for example. It's the entire e-commerce, and I think this growth is still going on. So as I just checking the numbers, because we have a dashboard, and what I can see here is that there is not a huge spike here in the last 2 weeks now. Of course, the order number is a bit more than before, but not an extreme spike. It's just the year-to-year growth is 100%. So last year was 45,000, and this year it's 98,000 orders, monthly orders. So everything is keep going on.
Zoli, is it okay for you?
Thank you. I mean, by the way, that's what we experience as well. So that's exactly the same how we feel. So there's rather a gradual build up in our e-commerce, and also not that gradual, but rather tragical shift downwards in the esthetician sales. But that's also it's a bit different. It seems to be not only we, but also the market is more prepared for the situation as well.
Yep.
Okay. So finally, if you have to formulate only one message for domestic companies, what would it be?
Just do it. Well, keep adapting the changes. I think there is no good sentence here. I have been attending many similar talks recently, and no one could say an holy grail sentence, because it's just if something is changing, I think successful companies are adapting changes, and that tells everything. It could have been any other thing which could change the market. It's just pandemic this time, but the other time there could be a war or something. So you have to keep focus on your business and not just believe in one thing, but keep adapting and changing. I think that's all I can say.
Zoli?
It's a very hard question. Whether I would even encourage everyone to explore whether there is a potential for them to explore any digital way of doing things. So if that's the only thing they do, perhaps if they put their education or their training digital, I think that's already something which they experience, and then they could move on to the next chapter. So we also learned a lot that how easily we could do anything without much less transaction cost, much less problems digitally. And I think at least I wouldn't. So the e-commerce itself is a different word, I think, but also very much addicting as well, because if you see that you have a different and more or less prompt effect on anything what you do, so you can easily see the result of your work. But in some industries, it doesn't really pay off, I think, because it's simply they cannot really build easily an e-commerce store in some businesses. But in many ways, I think my advice would be to at least to try to touch some part of the value chain which could go digital, and that's that has some spirit and some reserves for them to exploit.
Ákos?
So I would say that never underestimate the importance of the right level of investment and planning whatever you plan to do, and test. There is many things you can even do without able to scale it. We do many things to manually, in an ugly way, to test, and then we will figure out how to scale it. So I think don't assume, but test, if it's one sentence.
Mm-hmm. Super. Miklós, do you have any remark for that?
I'm happy with the feedback, right? That this adaptation is the key. I think that's lovely, and making those bold decisions to change, not just temporarily for the crisis, but I understand most of these decisions will last much longer beyond the virus period, and I think this is a very important lesson we learned from the gentleman today.
So thank you very much for the conversation, for Zoli, András, and Ákos, and of course for Miklós, as for discussion role, and the participation for the audience as well. Have a nice evening and a good health for everyone, and see you again at the next event of Hungarian Economic Association. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.